Those are the three best backgrounds for like really, really top sales reps.
All right, let me eat cold calls for no reason to get better. Do you think that that's like worth it?
When you talk about like getting to the stage where sales can kind of become effortless, it's like the biggest hack to be able to do is...
Dude, what made you get into sales? Like, was there someone that wanted you to do it, or like someone brought you into a sales team, or you were just like, sales?
I just heard from enough people that it was the number one skill set that you want to learn as an entrepreneur, you know? And then you look at like, for instance, when you look at like all the top entrepreneurs, like look at Bill Gates, right? Like he sold a software program that he didn't even have to IBM for some stupid money, and then he went out and bought it himself and just brokered, like arbitraged the deal, you know? So it's like, when you look at all of these all of these super top level entrepreneurs, like the ability to sell is like the number one. And when you speak to any entrepreneurs, even who are doing like $1 million, 10 million a year in revenue, it's like you ask them, what's the number one skill that you want to learn? Like 90% of them are going to say sales.
Yeah, you know? I've never heard one person say like, nah, sales isn't important. I've never heard it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what was your first gig in sales? Were you always into like big high ticket closing?
No.
Or?
No. So I was I got started as an appointment setter, right? So like again, outbound dialing, leads either as they come in or just like hitting old ass leads. And that was like after doing a lot of agency work where I was just purely cold calling. It was pretty easy when someone had like raised their hand and been like, yeah, I want some more information on this, and then like you pick them up and you're like, they pick up the phone and you're like, wow, this person doesn't want to hang up on me, you know, and which was like a huge revelation for me at the time. But and then after that, you know, like I ended up crushing it as appointment setter because obviously I'd done so many cold calls, and then closing just was the next logical step from there, and haven't looked back.
Nice, man. Nice. So what do you think the difference is from like cold calling and appointment setting to high ticket closing? I feel like those are two separate skill sets, or am I wrong with that?
Yeah, yes and no, right? The way that like it's kind of like anything. There's this book by Tim Ferriss called The 4-Hour Chef, where he talks about when you want to learn a new skill, there are core activities that you can do that are just going to increase your overall experience and skill level just in isolation. So, Hormozi talks about this. The first guy that I heard talk about this was Alex Becker, actually. You know, I don't know if you know who that is, but he's a real G. But he talked about like, when he was playing World of Warcraft or something like that, he'd go and find like where these crabs spawned, and he'd just go and fight crabs all day, because per unit time that he had, that was how he was going to get the most XP, get the most, like level ups, and just increase his overall skill set at the game the most, like practicing new weapons and everything along those lines. Hormozi said the same thing with Fable. It's a real, it's a piece of content that he's got out there as well. And my firm belief is that like outbound dialing 100% is that for sales. Cold calling, going door to door, getting a very, very high volume of those very difficult sales interactions where you have the a lot of people hate getting hung up on because it's like they feel like you're getting rejected, but also like, when you get hung up on, that there's something that you said in the last 10 seconds that caused them to hang up on you. And so you can systematically remove every single bad word that you have, like that comes out of your mouth naturally, and you can get to the stage where like everything that's coming out of your mouth is pretty much damn near perfect, And so like when you're able to practice that on such a difficult level, like cold call, like not even outbound dialing, right? On straight up cold calling, where they don't know who you are, they didn't express any interest, And when you can polish in that more difficult arena, by the time that you get on a sales call, for like a 45-minute strategy session for someone who's seen who's like gone through an entire funnel, seen an ad, they've put in their details, they've watched a webinar, they've registered for a call. It's like, there's no chance that you're getting hung up on that. But like, let's say if you're trying to practice that core skill set in that inbound environment, like, what's the probability that someone's going to hang up on you when you get into that big sales call, right? They're not going to. So how are you going to learn what words not to say? And then when you look back on it, you're trying to review a call. It's a 45-minute sales call, and you don't know what words you said that didn't go wrong, or what words you said that caused them not to buy. You've got 40 minutes worth of, if you're speaking 150 words a minute or something along those lines to dissect. It's like thousands and thousands of words. So, definitely a 2 or 3 minute like harder conversation is definitely the way to practice that. So that's not just for sales, right? So like at the same time, I was blessed to be to get an international cap, to become an internationally capped athlete for my country playing touch rugby. And it's the same thing. It's like, what is that one core what is that one core exercise that you can use for practice? And so, for instance, in rugby, that's like 3-on-2s, right? Very small, limited area 3-on-2s. You know, so and then it's the same thing whether you're playing guitar, whether you're speaking Spanish, whether you're learning another language. You know, it's like, what's the one situation that you can put yourself in that's going to give you the you know, like an asymmetric return for your time? Yeah, exactly. What's the 80/20 in terms of your skills development?
So do you think that someone who's like pretty good at sales, let's say like they're like a 5 or 6 out of 10, they do well, they're like top of their company, maybe it's not a huge company, do you think it's worth it for them to go back and be like, all right, let me eat shit on cold calls for no reason to get better? Do you think that that's like worth it, or is it better to just go like, well, now that I have the base skill level, let me go take some courses and bring some of that stuff into the interactions? Or is it like, no, bro, like go eat shit on some cold calls and then come back?
Dude, sometimes. I mean, like, there's a natural growth that everyone has, and so like a lot of like some of the best sales guys, it's really those three things. It's cold calling door to door, and like if you're calling old ass leads for like something like old ass like cheap leads where you're selling something really low ticket for something like fitness, right? Those are typically where I've seen like the three best, or like those are the three best backgrounds for like really top sales reps. And I don't think there's very many sales reps like really top level who have not come from that background. You know, I literally can't think of any. You know, even Hormozy was obviously selling a lot of fitness, right?
Dude, you were saying he was getting on like 18 hours worth of sales calls a day, like triple booked for 18 hours.
100%. And so it's like with those things, if you've already had that background, you've already got that like large base of knowledge. Like, yeah, you probably don't need to. You know, but again, it's just like how well do you want to master the process? You know, because I think the biggest thing with having that large level of you know, of background and that extremely large experience base is that it really allows you to start closing deals off intuition. You know, and so like when you talk about like getting to the stage where sales can kind of become effortless, it's like the biggest hack to be able to do is put in 2 or 3 months of that like eating shit, like really hard conversations, so that when you get to the end of a sales call and someone's giving you objections, it's like you can fucking turn your brain off and they'll still close, you know, right? Because you're not having to use your entire 100% of your CPU, right? You know? Like, and then that's how you can really, if you want to do 10 sales calls, you know, per day, and then get to the end of the day and still have energy to do your hobbies, still have energy to, you know, like spend time with, you know, your girl or your family, or do anything else, or, you know, anything along those lines. And even to the stage where, like, you know, there's some times when I was actually closing deals where I was doing it over the phone, and I literally be playing video games while I was closing, you know. You know, and so there's a couple other advantages to that as well. Like, it's very good for your brain, but you know, it's like it's just, again, like, how do you? That's one of the biggest factors to being able to close effortlessly.